Boom! We're live with the Oxpath news and another exciting week. We're broadcasting earlier. Why? Well, we're broadcasting earlier because of some strange daylight savings tiny thing that's going on in America right now for the next few weeks before the rest of the world, specifically the UK, that's the important part, catches up. And so we're an hour earlier than usual, and hopefully you came to this video because of the fantastic art in the thumbnail. That's right. That art is from They Came From Beneath the Sea. You're probably already familiar with it. It's by the amazingly talented Larry Blameyer, who both contributed art and words to They Came From Beneath the Sea. And the reason that lovely piece of aquatic terror is in our thumbnail is because Monsters of the Deep, our bestiary for They Came From Beneath the Sea, one of my favourite They Came From books, all told, and there's been a lot of them, but Monsters of the Deep is still very close to my heart, is now fully available on Roll20. What does this mean? Well, They Came From is a game that is incredibly well suited to tabletop play in person, where you're playing cards around and, using your cinematics, slamming them on the table. But it also works incredibly well in the virtual tabletop environment because you can use the same kinds of materials. Monsters of the Deep contains absolutely a ridiculous number of creatures, and it being available on Roll20 is basically giving you carte blanche to just start taking every single monster as encounter form and stat block form and planting them straight into your virtual tabletop games. So that's why it's there, and it is linked right below. I'll tell you what else is linked below. Curious Cats of Mao. We passed over $30,000 worth of funding, so I think that's over 150% of our target, so that's great. We still have 10 days left to go. We're still hitting stretch goals as we move. This is some people consider it the quiet period of the crowdfunding campaign because we're in the middle part. What that means is we really need you to share the link to that campaign all around the place. If you're on social media, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Blue Sky, if you're on Instagram, TikTok, wherever, let people know about Curious Cats of Mao. There are an enormous number of people who love pets, love role-playing, and yet have not made that intersection yet of Curious Cats of Mao or Realms of Pugmire and their love of animals. And there's so many people who would love to put their pets into these role-playing games and play fantastical versions of them. This is their chance. You need to let them know about it. So do click the link below. What else have I got for you? Well, there is a little more. If you check the onyxpath.com, and not everyone does, not everyone checks every single week, but I recommend checking it right now, because we put a blog up last week about At the Gates. At the Gates is one of our upcoming role-playing games. It's JRPG fantasy style, so lots of explosive combat, high magic, various anthropomorphic animal kind of races or peoples, as it were. And, well, it's the next game in the Earthbane cycle. The World Below was our first game in the Earthbane cycle. At the Gates is also in the Earthbane cycle. How do they connect? There are certain breadcrumbs, teasers there for how they might, but so far we haven't confirmed anything. But what we have done is put a blog up on the onyxpath.com, which you can find, which demonstrates the current logo for At the Gates, but also tells you a little about the world of Gaia and its inhabitants. So do check that out. And yes, we've already got very helpful people in the commentary. Of course, Nicholas Milioni, very much looking forward to At the Gates. Good for you, Nicholas. You should be. Eddie Webb saying At the Gates lead to the world below. Obviously, Eddie's confirmed it now in the chat, so we can call off the search, call back the Inquisition. The answer has now been provided to you, dear audience, from the wisdom, the wise pen of Eddie Webb. I don't know why he types with a pen. He somehow feels like his fingers are too good for the keyboard. This is what he tells me. Yes, Nicholas has also pointed out that he's typing with his wise ass, apparently. I'm providing a running commentary of the live chat. My buttocks are not small enough to have that level of, I guess, precision when it comes to a keyboard. But Eddie's well trained. What can I say? Nicholas is very much looking forward to the next Changeling release. That is something I alluded to in our recent one of our recent Onyx Pathcasts, but also on I think last week's Onyx Path news. The hedge for Changeling the Lost is coming up very, very soon. Keep your eyes wide open for that one, because I know there's a lot of lovers of Changeling the Lost out there. I've been running it myself for my Patreons. We've recently got through character creation. We're going to be exploring a very horrifying, but also hopefully quite fun world in Beaufort, South Carolina, the idyllic town of Beaufort. You really can't get much nicer. And, and what happens when the Lost are pretty much the only Lost in this particular realm? We will find out in that particular game. But we're not talking about my Patreon here, we're talking about Changing the Lost. I will be using material from the hedge because I have had the great joy of being able to proof it in advance of its initial PDF release. I know that there's a lot of content in there that I can use to make my games more horrifying. I always find the inhabitants of the hedge just innately terrifying, and this book really does a great job of not just providing antagonistic material for storytellers, but also lots of utility material for players, loads of new playable options, things you can bolt onto your characters, new powers and such. So, do check out the hedge when it comes out. Last thing I want to point out to people, and yes, there are giant sea worms the size of lighthouses in the hedge. I'm calling it right now. There needs to be a little disclaimer. There are no giant sea worms the size of lighthouses in the hedge, but there could be. I mean, I think everyone assumes that when you're pulled through the hedge and you are living in the thrall of some terrifying gentry, some terrifying true fate, that they're going to be some elegant porcelain alien creature that is manipulating you cruelly but coldly. Nope. In my hedge, it's a giant sea worm the size of a lighthouse. See how you deal with that. Anyway, we're we are running out of time already because I've got a Monday meeting to go to, which is running early because of the clocks. Last thing I wanted to point out, I have posted a link below to this month's Start.Playing date, which I believe is on the 29th of March. We would love it if more of you went over there to play games, run games of ours, and all the facilities are there for you to do so. You can advertise your own games, you can find new games, and as I always say, I'm not going to say what you would think I am. As I always say, if you've bought one of our books recently, if you have taken a look, if you've played with something, hell, if you've gone back into your drive-thru RPG library or just started playing a new game that you downloaded months ago from drive-thru RPG, please go on drive-thru RPG and leave it a rating. And if you've got at any time at all, leave a review. It could be 1 line, 2 lines, a paragraph, 2 paragraphs, whatever you like. Ratings and reviews direct more people to purchase our products, and that means we can make more products. So if you enjoy what we do, leave a rating, leave a review. Ratings take you no longer than 15 seconds. You just go to your library, see the products you haven't rated yet, click, boom, it's done. So please consider doing that. Even if you just rate one thing today, please consider doing it. Anyway, I'm going to head off because there's a meeting calling, and I will speak to all of you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.